Shrek turns 25 this year. So do 10 box office disasters you've completely forgotten existed. Some are cult classics now, but most are still trash. Brendan Fraser had just opened The Mummy Returns to the second biggest three-day weekend in North American history. This was May 2001. Fraser was basically a guaranteed box office draw at that point. Put him in an adventure movie and people showed up. A few months earlier, though, he'd starred in the worst box office bomb of his career. Henry Selick directed Nightmare Before Christmas, so when he pitched Fox a live-action stop-motion hybrid, they said yes. The story was about a cartoonist whose creation hijacks his body. They got Brendan Fraser to star in it and threw $75 million at the budget. Fox spent all that money making it, then apparently didn't want to release it. The advertising campaign was almost invisible. People who worked on the film talked later about how the studio brass seemed to have no confidence in it from the start. So why spend $75 million on something you don't believe in? That's the question nobody could answer. The movie opened to $2.5 million and finished with $5 million worldwide, one of Fraser's worst wide releases ever. Mark Wahlberg had just done Planet of the Apes and The Perfect Storm back-to-back. Both massive hits, both over $180 million domestic. He was on a roll going into late summer 2001. Rockstar was supposed to keep that going, based on a true story about a Judas Priest cover band singer who ended up joining the actual band. Co-starring Jennifer Aniston, released right after Planet of the Apes while Wahlberg was hot. Makes sense on paper. Except it didn't work because nobody wanted to see it. Heavy metal fans looked at Rockstar and passed. The people who actually care about Judas Priest and that whole scene, they had zero interest. And general audiences didn't want to see a movie about heavy metal at all. So the film fell into this gap where it literally had no audience. $38 million to make, $19 million total gross. Wahlberg went from 2 huge hits to a bomb in about 3 months, and all that momentum just evaporated. I have to describe this one because it sounds made up. Kurt Russell and Kevin Costner play criminals who disguise themselves as Elvis impersonators so they can rob a casino during an international Elvis impersonator convention in Las Vegas. That's the actual plot. This thing had a $62 million budget and played in over 2,500 theaters. Sometimes weird concepts become sleeper hits. This was not one of those times. It's February 2001, Hannibal is killing it at the box office, traffic is still around winning awards. Adult audiences had options, and Kurt Russell and Kevin Costner weren't exactly guarantees anymore. Costner had just bombed with The Postman in 13 days. Nobody was rushing out to see him play an Elvis impersonator bank robber. The movie made $18 million worldwide and disappeared. But 25 years later, there's something kind of great about the fact that it existed at all. Studios greenlit a $62 million Elvis impersonator heist movie and released it wide. That doesn't happen anymore. Studios don't greenlight stuff this strange with budgets that big. So yeah, it was a disaster financially, but at least someone took the swing. In 2001, CG animation was still basically the Wild West. Toy Story came out 6 years earlier, but most studios were still doing traditional hand-drawn stuff. DreamWorks has made exactly one CG movie at this point, Ants. That's how new this technology still is. And into this landscape walks director Hironobu Sakaguchi with an absolutely insane idea. Make a photorealistic CG movie based on Final Fantasy, aim it squarely at adults, and spend over $100 million doing it. They cast actual stars: Alec Baldwin, Ving Rhames, Steve Buscemi. The plan was simple. The Final Fantasy games had this massive fan base, turn them into moviegoers, create a summer blockbuster, change the entire industry's perception of animation. Easy, right? The budget climbed to $137 million. For context, Shrek, which came out the same year, cost $70 million. Final Fantasy cost almost twice as much. It comes out July 2001, and it gets absolutely annihilated. Makes $32 million total. Doesn't even make a quarter of its budget back. What killed it was two things. First, the animation fell right into the uncanny valley. These photorealistic humans that looked almost real but not quite, and it creeped people out. Second, the movie was just boring. People showed up expecting explosive summer action and instead got this slow philosophical meditation on spirits and alien invasions. The failure was so catastrophic it basically killed the studio that made it. Square Pictures shut down. Warner Brothers has this weird curse with animated movies. They own Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck, right? Classic characters, beloved by everyone. But their track record with theatrical animated features is just flop after flop. Quest for Camelot, The Ant Bully, Lego Ninjago all bombed at the box office. Summer 2001, they tried again with Osmosis Jones. The pitch was basically what if we did Toy Story, but instead of toys, it's the organisms living inside a human body. Make it a buddy cop movie. Get Chris Rock to voice a white blood cell cop. He teams up with a cold pill to save the human they live inside, played in live action by Bill Murray. It sounds fucked up, I know, and it looked fucked up too. The movie was packed with gross-out gags that turned families off. And also it came out in August when The Princess Diaries was already dominating the family movie market. Osmosis Jones cost $70 million to make. It made $13.5 million total. That's not a bomb. That's a freaking crater. Tom Green had momentum in 2001. He'd been funny in Road Trip, he was in Charlie's Angels, MTV loved him. The guy had this deliberately uncomfortable comedy style that was working, so he got the chance to make his own movie, his own comedy vehicle where he could do whatever he wanted. What he made was Freddy Got Fingered. I don't even know how to describe this thing. It's completely dumb, and it's packed with gags and gross-out moments specifically designed to make you uncomfortable. The movie became instantly infamous as one of the worst comedies ever made. Even on a modest $15 million budget, it couldn't break even. Made $14.2 million. For comparison, Corky Romano, another comedy that came out that year that nobody remembers, made $24 million. Joe Dirt made $27 million. Freddy Got Fingered couldn't even get to those numbers. And that was it for Tom Green as a leading man. The movie killed his career. He never got another shot at being a movie star after that. Studios looked at Freddy Got Fingered and decided they were done. If you're under 30, you probably think of Crocodile Dundee as some old movie your parents watched. But in the mid-'80s, this franchise was a freaking monster. The first Crocodile Dundee made $174 million domestically in 1986. That made it the second biggest movie of the year in North America behind Top Gun. It beat Aliens and Star Trek IV. 2 years later, the sequel came out and made $109 million domestically, sixth biggest movie of 1988. So in 2001, Paramount figured they'd go back for thirds. Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles. Same character, same concept, except now he's dealing with Hollywood instead of New York. But something had changed. In 1986, there was novelty in watching this rough Australian guy navigate American culture. By 2001, that joke was old. The whole concept felt tired. The movie came out in April and made $25 million domestically on a $25 million budget. After theaters took their cut, it didn't even make its budget back. Josie and the Pussycats has this whole cult following now. People love it, quote it, celebrate Parker Posey's performance. The satire of the music industry holds up. But when it opened in April 2001, it made $14.3 million worldwide on a $22 million budget. The movie was based on this old Hanna-Barbera cartoon from the 60s that most people didn't remember. Didn't have Scooby-Doo name recognition. And instead of just doing a straightforward adaptation, the filmmakers made it this meta-commentary on corporate manipulation and manufactured pop stars. Early 2000s audiences weren't showing up for that. They wanted their nostalgic cartoon movies to be simple fun. Nobody wanted the satire with jokes about product placement. So it died in theaters. Then over the years, it found its audience on home video and became this beloved cult classic. But in 2001, nobody came. Ivan Reitman directed Ghostbusters in 1984, one of the most successful comedies ever made. So 17 years later, he tried to do it again with Evolution. Same setup, comedic actors dealing with supernatural threats. This time, aliens instead of ghosts. Dan Aykroyd from Ghostbusters even showed up in a small role. Columbia Pictures distributed it just like they distributed Ghostbusters. Everyone involved was trying to recreate what worked before. Problem was, the concept didn't work the same way. Ghost Exterminators is funny right away. Evolving aliens invading Arizona doesn't have the same hook. And Sean William Scott in 2001 wasn't Bill Murray in 1984. The movie cost $80 million, made just $98 million worldwide. Disney spent the entire 90s making musical animated comedies and printing money with them. Lion King, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast. Same formula, worked every time. Then in 2001, they tried something different. Atlantis was a serious action adventure based on Jules Verne. No songs, no sidekick doing comedy bits, just submarines and explosions and ancient civilizations. 1 month before Atlantis opened, Shrek came out and made more money than anything else that summer by a huge margin. Shrek was snarky, making fun of Disney. That's what audiences wanted in 2001. Atlantis was earnest and straightforward and old-fashioned. It made $84 million domestically, cost $90 million to make. For Disney, that was a failure. But the real damage was what it meant. DreamWorks had just beaten Disney at animation. Shrek proved it. And Atlantis bombing kicked off Disney Animation's rough decade where they couldn't figure out how to compete with Pixar and DreamWorks. Took them almost 10 years to recover.